story about conflict resolution between a day shift and a night shift nurse. Nurse Sue is a day shift nurse who sees her patient assignment and is annoyed she has to follow Nurse Betty again. Ugh, she huffs and rolls her eyes. When Nurse Sue is receiving report from Nurse Betty, she becomes annoyed further and slams down her pen. Nurse Betty picks up on Nurse Sue's signs and asks if there's a problem. Nurse Sue proceeds to yell in the hallway asking, "What have you been doing all night? Sleeping? You always leave me with a mess. Patient A needs a dressing change. Patient B needs pain medication, so he'll stop screaming out. Patient C needs a new bag of fluids, and there's air in the line, and patient D still needs a bath." Nurse Sue continues her rant, and she belittles Nurse Betty in front of coworkers, calling her lazy and dumb, and states, "I can't work with her." Nurse Betty jumps up in tears and runs to the break room. Nurse Betty knows she's going to have to work it out with Nurse Sue, but she just isn't sure how to do it. She decides not to say anything to anyone about the incident, and she tries to just avoid Nurse Sue from now on. She's also considering leaving her job because she doesn't feel the other nurses stood up for her. Here are my suggestions for improving the incident. I don't think that the timing and the location was appropriate. It was not okay to have an outburst during shift change and in the hallway around other coworkers and where potential patients could hear. Nurse Sue should have scheduled a private meeting with Nurse Betty, and she could have even included her nurse manager in that meeting if she wanted to. I also think that Nurse Sue's words probably made Nurse Betty feel attacked and led her to run out. Nurse Sue should have thought about her words before saying them. She did not demonstrate respect to Nurse Betty by calling her names. In this situation, we also have to explore others' perceptions of Nurse Betty. Do other nurses on the unit feel the same way when following her? Or is this a situation where one nurse just doesn't like another? Could it be that Nurse Betty feels constantly disrespected by Nurse Sue, and so she is acting in retaliation and intentionally not completing tasks? The most important thing that I think that the nurses need to do is establish an action plan. Nurse Betty just wants to avoid Nurse Sue, but that's not realistic and it does not solve the problem. Breakdowns in communication can lead to medical errors, and then it becomes a patient safety issue. If Nurse Betty tends to leave tasks for the following day shift nurse without an explanation as to why, such as being tied up with a code situation or being shorthanded and not having support staff on a specific night, then that issue needs to be addressed and corrected. So let's do this over, taking those things in consideration. Nurse Sue sees that she's following Nurse Betty again. Generally, This makes her frustrated because she feels she has to pick up Nurse Betty's slack. But Nurse Sue recently attended a workshop that focused on the enhancement of leadership skills and collaboration within the healthcare field, and she is ready to practice what she learned. She knows that she must set the example and she must behave appropriately. So, Nurse Sue receives report and then calmly asks to talk to Nurse Betty in private. Nurse Sue explains that she often feels that Nurse Betty intentionally leaves tasks that should have been completed on night shift. Nurse Betty apologizes and explains that she does not sleep well during the day, and she's often very sleepy on night shift, and she tends to doze off at work. Nurse Betty then shares that she's been thinking about changing jobs. Nurse Sue shows concern and support and suggests she try day shift. Nurse Betty nods and says, I'm going to wait for the manager this morning so I can talk to her about that.